Hello, future viewers. Apparently this is fairly close to the colors of the original Game Boy. I'll do one video like this. After that, I'm switching it to something else. Anyway, alien tunnels. Dang. How long did it take for us to discover that they were doing this? It seems like a pretty big project. Also, this map is actually pretty accurate and useful for the mission. You don't even need to get advice from the radio stations on where they are. That's good. And yep, we're using the bomb. This is, as far as I can tell, the only real reason to bring a bomb with you. I was not kidding when I said those things were specialized. Also, once they discovered these tunnels, our allies actually got some pretty good reconnaissance on the inside of them. Wonder how they pulled that off. I'm not saying that's a plot hole or anything, I'm just impressed. Good job, guys. Moving on. We need to pick up that bomb, don't we? Now, the bomb can be used outside of this mission, but it's, in general, better to just use the lock-on and missiles. They're more reliable. And also, you can store more than one of those, whereas you can only carry one bomb. Anyway, let's head south. That should lead us to the first tunnel entrance. More or less. Now, I probably didn't get the colors exactly right, but after looking at some footage of the actual Game Boy and a couple of other non-Lunar Chase games, I'm confident that it's a good enough simulation for our purposes here. And that is how you deal with a mine. I didn't get the chance to show that off last time, but there it is. You just spot it on the radar, approach it slowly, and when you're close enough to shoot it, you shoot, and then it turns into the other enemy and you shoot that too. Anyway. We do not currently need any power-ups, so we can just get going. And we have that familiar cluster of 3 dots on the radar. It was nice of the aliens to give us some guideposts. Well, those are probably for them, but still. And this tunnel is much less friendly than the actual friendly tunnels, which I guess makes some sense. There are, of course, more obstacles, and the layout is narrower and less easy to navigate. That's cool. Yeah, in this circumstance, having doors try to close onto you makes a lot of sense. Also, if you're wondering why the timer was not being used outside, this is why. Now, bumping into the walls is not such a big deal. You take a point of damage, but still. It's crashing into these walls that try to block your way that will cause trouble, because you will be stopped for a short time when you do that. And, well, as you can see, there's not a whole lot of time to spare. So, in short, this mission does not put a huge amount of pressure on you to reach the tunnels quickly. However, it makes up for this by giving you the threat of instant death once you're in there, which I think is a fair trade-off. Also, oh, well, that's what the enemy missiles look like. You can just outrun them, though, even in reverse. So now we know. Well, we need to go pick up another bomb now that we've used our previous one, and it took me a minute to realize this. There we go. Past me has now realized it. And after that, we'll have to do a little bit of surface driving to reach the next tunnel. I know that technically we could use our own tunnels to get there, but that would take longer, and we don't really have a time limit in that way. They say we are under heavy attack, but not so much as when the humanoid tanks were walking around destroying our stations. That's not so much of a problem anymore. I believe that more enemies show up on the surface just in general when you take more time, but that's not something that we really need to worry about, especially if we were to start flying. There are not a whole lot of enemies that can give us trouble when we're flying. No. Yeah, heading north here is fine. I don't really know why I headed south in the first place, but whatever. I was in wraparound thought, and I'm thinking, if wraparound from right to left is good, doing that as well as wrapping top to bottom would be even better. And that mine was just on the edge of the radar, so not a problem. Now here we run into another new enemy. And you heard that? Yeah, this is an interesting sort of enemy. When you shoot that with your laser, it comes back. As far as I can tell, it's an unlimited number of times. The only way to get rid of it permanently is shooting it with a missile, but we can't do that because we're bringing a bomb with us. Apparently, they also ram you. So, wow, that was tough. That actually was really challenging to get through there alive. So, if you're gonna play this again, or for the first time for that matter, don't do what I did. Instead of shooting any tanks along the way, just kind of drive past them. Ooh, that was a little tricky, but not that much of a problem, thankfully. Anyway. Don't try to destroy those respawning tanks on the way to the tunnel, because they might respawn in a more awkward spot. Ouch. I felt like I was robbed there. I felt like I had navigated that one well enough to not take that last point of damage, but whatever. We already have established that when it comes to tunnels, I'm the best pilot ever. And yes, those tunnels, I believe they did spawn a couple of enemies when I approached the last one. Gotta be careful with that. So that was one of the shorter missions, especially when you know what you're doing. Oh, it's an escort mission. That is not the shortest distance between those 2 points. Someday we'll figure out how these mutations cause just direct increases in mass. I've never heard of radiation doing that, but video game radiation, on the other hand, seems to do that a lot. Maybe in sci-fi too, I don't know. Well, although escort missions are not my favorite missions, I will say a couple of things in this game's favor. Variety in missions, and just in general variety in gameplay, is not something you hear about with original Game Boy games. Now, Pokemon is known for being extremely efficient with the data that it has and producing a large game world and such. But that and, as I said, gameplay variety are not things that the Game Boy is usually known for because, well, just take a look at some other games on that system. I did. Most Game Boy games, especially the earlier ones, they have a lot of repetition to them. They're almost like some of the older arcade games that way. And I can kind of understand with the hardware limitations. So the fact that this game has, for example, picking things up on the surface, and then bombing enemy tunnels, and then this escort mission, and then some other things that we'll see later. I have to give credit to the designers and programmers for this one. As for how to handle the actual mission, well, the good news is that the convoy doesn't outpace you, at least. They travel roughly at the equivalent of your low speed. And just don't let them bump into you. That would be bad. The other thing is that whenever you face them, you get that, hey, this thing is important to the mission sound. Well, the arrow is fine. The sound gets a little bit annoying since you're going to be right next to them a lot. Anyway, we've already seen how to deal with the insects. They only seem to get stunned by your lasers when you're locked onto them, and locking onto them is not necessarily easy. I'm actually not sure how they work exactly. They don't always stop moving when you shoot them just regardless. It might be a random chance or something. Also, sometimes when dots shift position and group together, it can look like they're blinking. That one is definitely blinking, though. Yeah. So what insects do is they jump at trucks and crash into them to damage them. The other enemies that drop missiles, well, they just try to ram into you in particular. Now, this sounds pretty alarming. We've seen the truck damaged message a few times, but once again, to the designer's credit, they probably tested this game enough to be aware of the limitations you're facing in this game. So they're astonishingly forgiving with how durable the trucks are. Now, it's possible that some of this is because the damage is being spread out, but I don't think that's the whole story. Also, I may have been taking a risk or two there. I'm fairly sure that shooting a truck with a missile would be worse than letting an insect hit it. But hey, if a video game doesn't encourage you to take risks with the mechanics, I'd say it's not a terribly good video game. Now, an even better game might differentiate between taking risks and being completely reckless. And I have seen that sometimes. Shmups are especially good at that if their scoring system is well made. But that's another topic. Now, in theory, those ramming enemies are there to cause you trouble while trying to protect the trucks, but in practice, they are there to keep refilling your missiles so that you can kill all the bugs without running out. Anyway, another thing of note, they must have been pretty confident in their game engine if they were willing to have all of these objects moving around at once. Uh-oh. Now that looks familiar. Yep, we got a respawning enemy. And they are, although you're supposed to hit them with missiles, not that easy to hit with them. Oh. Yeah, that's the thing about shooting power-ups, you don't always get the kind that you want afterwards. Anyway, we don't get many opportunities to actually kill those respawning tanks for good because there's usually more important things to do. So I'm glad I was able to show that off. Alright. Thankfully, I didn't bump into an enemy that time. Oh, another one of those spiders. I never really did figure out how to best interact with them. Well, I hope you really like this music because we're going to hear it for a little while yet. Originally, I intended to do 3 missions per video after the tutorial mission, but I forgot there was stuff like this, so we're moving to the 2-mission format from now on. As for how to handle adjustments to this mission in hard mode, I'm not really sure. We want to make the difficulty, Oh, did I just shoot the truck with my laser and it didn't do anything? That's good. That would be something to change in hard mode, at least. Another change to make would be fewer free missions. That's... Let's see. Did it... Now, I'm fairly sure the truck wasn't damaged because I shot it. Or at least, maybe that wasn't it? This is a little confusing. Anyway, the trucks have been damaged plenty of times, and we still haven't taken even one casualty, so... that's... I think we've received about as much as we can ask from the designers here. Like, if you're gonna give us an escort mission, don't make it too incredibly frustrating. I've been on a few in my time in games, and I think the best ones that I've seen either make it kind of a speed run to run ahead of the convoy and kill everything, and if you do it well, they're never even put in danger, or the more traditional enemies spawn near the convoy, but you have some leeway, and you only really have to worry about saving them all if you're a completionist. Those two scenarios are acceptable to me. For those who have played the game, protect the Typhon is not an acceptable situation. Come on. We're almost there. I hope. I also like a particular commenter's idea of more complicated terrain for this game. You know, I think there was a sequel to this as well. It might be interesting to take a look at what features they added. It was, I think, for the DSi or something. Should I do that game? Assuming that I can get access to it. Should I do the sequel, spiritual or otherwise, to this game? Oh, there's more enemies, alright. I may have gotten a little bit too greedy about the missiles. Because we're not at the point where we have to worry a huge amount of keeping our stock. Oh, wrong insect. Wrong insect. Ah, there it is. Yep, definitely, let's see, what would be the best way to deal with that situation? Well, one would be to not spend as much time going for missiles, but another would be not pressing the lock-on button too many times, and thus firing the missile rather than the laser to stun them. That would be good. Still though, the only thing it really changed was I think I get one fewer star because you want to maximize your insect kills here. I'll show you how stars are used next video. So, with that, I guess I'll see you then. Later, everyone!